the question number 1 was that what are the basic principles of public life? What are the basic principles of public life? Illustrate any of these with suitable example, right? So सबसे पहले आपको basic principles बताने थे public life के, और उसमें से किसी एक को with suitable example के साथ आपको illustrate करना था, right? So whenever you are talking with respect to any question or any answer, you should always use the authentic source, authentic definitions, right? Up transparency, accountability, participation, you can write such kind of things, right, with respect to the basic principles of public life. But if you are quoting from the authentic source, right, like what I always advise, that Nolan committee should always be quoted in such kind of questions, right? Nolan committee, this committee gave 7 principles. Nolan committee ने 7 principles दिए थे, और इसका कोड वर्ड मैंने बनाया है शैलू, right? So S for selflessness, then H for honesty, A for accountability, I for integrity, then comes the L for leadership, O for objectivity, and the next O is for openness, right? So this is shallow is the code words with respect to the Nolan committee recommendations for this basic principles in public life. Selflessness, what is the selflessness? That the person is not working in the interest of his or her interest, or in the interest of his or her family or relatives, right? Like there is no any kind of nepotism, परिवारवाद नहीं होता है उसमें, पब्लिक की सेवा के लिए वो काम करता है, अपने इंटरेस्ट के लिए काम नहीं करता है, राइट? एंड देन कम्स द ऑनेस्टी. ऑनेस्टी मीन्स दैट इफ देयर इज एनी प्राइवेट इंटरेस्ट, देन दैट holder, that means the government servant or the public servant, must declare that private interest, right? Then comes the accountability. That means the person is accountable to his or her action, right? Then comes the integrity, that is he is adhering to the basic principles of the organization, or the basic morals or basic ethics, or you can say he is following the code of conduct, right? Then comes the leadership. The person is able to take the leadership and he is able to lead the organization, right? Then openness, that means the government servant is very much open. He whatever decisions he is taking that decisions openly, that is the decisions are very much accessible to the general public, right? Then comes the objectivity. So whatever decisions he is taking, these are not subjective decisions, right? There is certain criteria on the basis of which these decisions are taken, right? So this is what about the basic definitions with respect to the each and every component of the basic principles of public life, right? Now you have to illustrate any of these with certain examples. So you can take any of the 7, इन 7 में से आप कुछ भी आप एक ले सकते हैं और उसको आप illustrate कर सकते हैं with respect to the example, right? For example, you can quote the example of Sridharan, right? When there was a small accident with respect to the metro rail construction, then the Sridharan take the accountability, right? That he is accountable for the accident and he is ready to resign, right? So he himself take the accountability for that wrongdoing, right? Then comes the objectivity. Whenever any tender process is given in a government institute, then there are certain objective criteria, right? ABCDs are the objective criteria on the basis of which that tender must be accepted by the committee who has floated that tender, right? जब भी कोई टेंडर निकलता है तो उसमें कुछ ऑब्जेक्टिव क्राइटेरियाज दिए रहते हैं ABCD, तो वो अगर मिनिमम क्राइटेरियाज अगर कोई कंपनी फिल करती है तभी उस कंपनी को उस टेंडर प्रोसेस में बिडिंग करने के लिए एक्सेप्ट किया जा सकता है, राइट? देन openness can also be explained with respect to this tender process, right? That whenever a tender process is given, the criterias are being published on the website, on the government website, so that it is accessible to all the bidders, right? So you can quote any of the examples. So whenever you are quoting the examples, you must quote reliable examples, practical examples, and whenever you are giving any of the recommendations like these principles, you should give recommendations from a authentic source, like we are talking with respect to the Nolan committee, right? Now we will discuss the next question, right?